there is safety in numbers, or so the saying goes, right? Well, this weekend I was listening to another podcast and I was listening to Feel Better, Live More by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. I listened to his podcast a lot, and he had a specialist on by the name of Dr. Anders Hansen. Obviously hard for me to say. He's a Swedish psychiatrist. And he was very interesting because he talks about how the brain works and how it doesn't necessarily work with our modern society. It still works in the same way that it did when we were hunter-gatherers, when we were fight or flight. And it was a fascinating conversation. I definitely recommend that you take a look at that. I'm happy to share that link with you in the notes under this. But essentially, the one thing that I really was stunned by and kind of took my breath away was when they were having a conversation about teenagers using their smartphones a lot. And it was brought up about how teenagers tend to text more than adults do. And I would actually say I see a lot of adults texting as well, but whatever. Anyhow, so they were talking about the teenagers texting. And one thing that came up that I thought was fascinating was that they were saying that the written word, like emails, texts, social media, things like that, are now a safety net for us. And what they mean by that was that we can take that time and make it perfect. We can make it sound how we want to sound. We can sound how we want to. We can express exactly how we feel. We get to take those moments to make it perfect. And when you are speaking to somebody or doing something on a video like this, then you are actually taking a risk, because by speaking, you have to think about what you're saying, and you might make a mistake and you might not be perfect. And that's hard for us nowadays. We are used to having things catered to exactly how we want them to sound or look. And so that was an interesting perspective. And so obviously in the world of finance, we talk about safety and risk all the time. And when we talk about risk, a lot of times people don't want to take on risk because they're afraid they're making a mistake. They're afraid of the result not being perfect or exactly what they want, right? Whether that's 20% rate of return or whatever you think you're going to get from the risk that you're taking. If it doesn't turn out exactly what you think, then you think you did it wrong because it's imperfect. And a lot of times people will lean towards safety because they feel like there's some kind of guarantee. In fact, I was talking to a client who was telling me about a friend of his who won't move forward with something unless it's guaranteed, including buying a house. And when we talk about those kind of things, guarantees are nice. I mean, it's guaranteed, right? We love that sound. We love hearing things are guaranteed. It's like, come into our store and you're guaranteed to get free ice cream. Who's not going to say yes to that, right? But sometimes with guarantees, when it comes to your planning, it can cause a problem because guarantees now sound great, but maybe in 5 or 10 years, those guarantees are actually holding you back, are actually not the right guarantees for you. And so you've got to be careful when you're looking at guarantees, guaranteed products, guarantee rate of return, guarantee, that guarantee is something you understand, because there is a risk if you can't get out of that product, or you have a mess to clean up after you get out of the product, let's put it that way, then was that worth the guarantee? Maybe it wasn't. So having a good balanced plan is about having some risk and having some safety, a little bit of a safety net and taking a little bit of risk, because when you take the risk, you get to move forward. Now, am I saying to take unbridled risk? Of course not. Take risks that you understand, that you're comfortable with, but that safety net is a safety net. It is not going to propel you forward necessarily. And oftentimes when we hear guaranteed and we're so excited about guarantee this and guarantee that, it can actually hold us back in the long run. So get out of the written text and get into the speaking side of things when it comes to your financial planning, and you are going to be put in a much better position. We are here to help. Feel free to reach out to us and book a get to know you call. What is that? It is just a no obligation call where we get to know you and see if we can serve you in any way. One Vision Retirement, your retirement in 2020 vision.